Dear friends, a man with a decent appearance always make people admire about sincerity and responsibility. AI also believes that man never did anything wrong, but the needle in the rap for a long time also came out. An adulterous man, no matter how skillfully hidden, I finally can't escape the truth. Behind that gentle face is full of unpredictable plots and the unthinkable betrayal. His peace of mind, it only makes the lies worse until everything breaks down. How much the truth will shock people. I'd like to invite you to listen to the Clumsy Secret short story through the expression of Quine Huang. Quine Huang wishing you and your friends. There are moments when listening to stories is relaxing. Hanoi in early autumn always brings a different beauty. The sun is no longer so strong. Instead, it's a little cold. It makes everything slow down. Ingok San sitting in the living room. I just checked some work papers. Just keep an eye on Min-an, playing with toys nearby. She suddenly raised her head in an innocent voice. Mom, yesterday I saw you standing in front of the elementary school gate. I'm picking up a guy who calls me Dad. Ingok San was a little startled by my words, but then she laughed and rubbed Min-an's head. I remember wrong. I'm on a business trip so Sao can be there. My heart is trying to confirm. No, I feel real, Mom. I picked her up, and she ran out and called me out loud. Ingok San shook her head and laughed softly. I must have missed you so much that I read it wrong. Don't think too much. I'll be back with you soon. My daughter heard me say that, and no more arguing. Come back and continue playing. A few days later, while cooking rice in the kitchen, Mingan ran to repeat the story of my father at the elementary school gate. Mom, I saw you standing at the school gate picking up Kier. I'm laughing with her. Ingok San sighed and calmly looked back at me. I told you, don't make it up. I'm on a business trip. There can't be that. Focus on your studies, don't think about it. This time the silence. I was a little scared of my mother's serious voice. She quietly turned away her sad eyes. This afternoon, Ingok San is sitting in the office packing up. Prepare to leave work. Hurry, put the laptop in your pocket. Eyes glancing at the clock. Then quickly check the phone. It's 10 minutes to pick you up at preschool. Just about to step off the desk. The phone suddenly rang a strange number. She frowned. Who's calling this hour again? Although a little annoyed, San still reminded me. Hello, who is it? Kier sighed wire end. It's a man's voice that sounds cold and strange. You are Ingok San, right? We called Property Inspection Agency. I need to confirm some important information related to your property. San paused, a little suspicious eyes. She put her bag down on the chair and walked to the window. Hand clasped the phone. The sky outside began to darken. The streetlights have flickered on. She replied, trying to stay calm. What property do you have? I've never heard of this test. Or where you're calling from. The man continued to push harder. This is an emergency. If you don't confirm immediately, your property may be at risk. Our agency needs your personal information to examine and identify. When I heard that, San started to feel uncomfortable. She turned her back and sighed. Slightly irritated eyes. You don't have to think much to recognize the darkness of this call. What's so important? Sal has no prior notice. You don't know what my property is. I see you're cheating. The man persisted, even though his voice was a little awkward. No, sister. This is official work. As long as you provide information, it will be processed immediately. San laughed softly. Her voice completely changed and became determined. I don't have time for this. The scam is clear. Goodbye. She hung up emphatically. Don't wait a second. Her heart is filled with a sense of resentment for wasting time on a meaningless call. I quickly checked the clock and hurried out of the office with his bag. Get out to the parking lot and start the engine and launch. The streets are so crowded now. Each long line of cars. Upon arrival at the school gate, she saw Min waiting there with her teacher. When she saw her mother coming, she ran out with a bright face. "Mom's here. I'm sorry I'm a little late," Ingok-san hurriedly explained. Just bent over and rubbed my head. I was relieved not to be too late. Ingok-san greeted the teacher and took Min to the car. When you're opening the car door, my eyes suddenly caught an image. On the opposite side, she holds her hand in the air. On the other side of the road, in front of the school, a familiar figure appeared. It's your husband, but he can't be here. He said he was on a business trip to Da Nang, and I won't be home until tomorrow. She's confused and a little startled. Maybe you're going to surprise your mother, Ingok-san said to himself. But the strange thing is, you're standing in front of the elementary school, not the kindergarten where Min studied. She's coming to call you. Then right then, a boy in elementary school uniform run out from the school and shout, "Dad!" Ingok-san is motionless. That child is calling Len his father. She saw the main bow. With a bright smile, he picked up the boy and asked gently, "Do you remember me?" Ingok-san's heart stopped beating. Ingok-san feels his feet. It's like being stuck to the ground. "I can't walk or speak." Ingok-san bowed her head and gripped Minan's hand. "Feeling like your chest is choking. You can't understand what's going on." I remember what my daughter said a few days ago. Turns out she was right, and she didn't believe it. Even yelled at me, because it thinks it's just imagining. Min held her mother's hand and asked innocently, "Mom, why don't you go?" She looked down at her daughter trying to smile, but her smile was trembling and full of difficulty. "In front of you is your husband's car." She answered, her voice as if it were choking in her throat. "You are going to call your husband." But the school break scene was too crowded. Your husband and the boy merged into the crowd. She opened the car door. "Gently pick up Min and sit yourself in the driver's seat." When the car started to roll, Ingok-san bit his lip. "Grip the steering wheel tightly. You can only comfort yourself now. Everything will be clear. I have to calm down." The life of Ingok-san. Then Ingok-san drove home, but in the heart as tangled as silk. Mind spinning. You can't focus on anything. How many times on the way were you going to run a red light? But the sound of the car, the surroundings don't get your attention until you enter the campus of the apartment building. Her heart is pounding. The car itself, she saw in front of the elementary school gate. It's slowly turning into the driveway of the opposite building. You can't believe your eyes. Over the years, you have put your faith in the Lord, and now it's highly likely that she was cheated on by her husband. Ingok-san, 36 years old, is a woman with a small, quiet family, with her husband, the main, and Minan's 5-year-old daughter. Their family lives in a Kang Trang apartment in the heart of Hanoi. Many people look at and admire. Husband succeeded, obedient daughter, and a stable job. Lam is the husband of Ingok-san. He is a man in the eyes of many. You've worked hard to build your own company that both husband and wife create together from the early years of marriage. But now Ingok-san has stepped back to take care of his family and runs a small shop selling furniture. 7. He continues to work at the company in a leadership role. Work is getting busy. I often have to go to work and come home late. But Ingok-san always trusts her husband absolutely. My daughter is the pride of the whole family. She is smart and obedient and very hardworking. Even though he was a child, Min understood it very well, rarely demanding or annoying. Thanks there. Ngok San feels lucky to have a child like her. Make you not so worried. When it comes to balancing work and family, their family's life is always going well. Or at least Ngok San thinks so. The weekends, it was the happiest time. They used to go out for breakfast together, walking around the old town, or drive away from the city to relax. However, in recent times, the main body is often absent. Your job becomes more stressful. More and more unexpected business trips. And I often have to stay in the office late. Ngok San and Lam have been married for 15 years. Their daughter is only 5 years old. But the boy Ngok San saw yesterday, wearing school uniform, must be at least 7 years old. If it is really the son of the Lord, that means right from the moment we got married, I betrayed you. Think about here. Ngok San's heart was strangled by a choking throat. You dare not think anymore. All night without sleeping. You remember what happened last weekend? After Min had fallen asleep, she sat in the living room with a nervous expression on her face. Ngok San came out of my room. When he was about to sit down to rest, the chief called back. I'll help you with your passport. And a marriage certificate? His serious voice surprised Ngok San. She sat down in the chair opposite him. What are you doing with those papers? What do you suddenly need them for? He took a deep breath and explained. The company has been complicated lately. Debt piled up. The lawyer said it's best to get a fake divorce. This way the remaining property is kept safe. If we don't, we'll lose it. Ngok San suddenly sat up straight. I feel like something is wrong. She looked directly at the main forest. Fake divorce? Are you serious? Why do you suddenly have to do this? My property is still mine. You have to divorce to protect yourself. He sighed, his voice a little tense. You don't understand. If not, the company could collapse. Debt towed by all assets shared by the couple. I've talked to a lawyer. It's the safest way. Ngok San was silent for a few seconds. Her mind began to revolve around unintelligible thoughts. Go to my best friend's house. You used to trust your husband completely. But now the sense of insecurity grows. The teacher didn't say anything. I'm telling you the truth. Just get the paperwork. I finished the procedure early for safety. Ngok San shook his head with a low voice. I need to think more. This is big. You can't just say you can do it. See my wife's reaction. Lam frowned briefly, but then nodded. Okay, but you deal with it quickly. Don't be too late. If I can't save anything, I will suffer both spouses. After a sleepless night, Ngok San has made a decision. She had to postpone the divorce proceedings with Lam until it's all clear. The next morning, the chief did not come home. Ngok San enlisted to bring the household register and a marriage certificate. I just arrived at the place where Ngok San sighed and handed the papers to Cho Vai. You keep these with me. I don't want to leave home right now. He opened his eyes as Ngok San asked, what are you going to do with your passport? Below the marriage registration, go put away. Ngok San took a deep breath. Then tell us a little story. Yesterday afternoon when Lam was at the gate of the primary school, with the boy who calls you daddy, and the couple's plan to get a fake divorce, to preserve the property. He put the glass of water on the table and stared at her. Fake divorce to preserve property. I see something is wrong. Have you thought about it? Ngok San replied with a faint smile. I also find it strange. But let me find out more and put it off. Be quiet for a while and then look at you seriously. San, I think you need to talk clearly to the mayor. Keep these things in your head. Then thinking about it, it's just more confusing. I don't know what the truth is. I was thinking about a fake divorce, and now I see a strange sight. That doesn't sound right. Ingok-san sighed and nodded. Yeah, I think so too. Now delay everything. You have to know the industry before you can move on. She patted your shoulder in a compassionate voice. No, you're here. Stay with me all morning. Calm down and go back and talk to the mayor. I think you need time to think carefully. It gets more messed up. This isn't going to solve anything. Ingok-san smiled weakly. Maybe I'll stay here a little longer. I don't know what to say yet. If you laugh, stay where you are. But you have to be strong. Don't let yourself suffer anymore. Ingok-jiang heard that in his confused heart. It is hard to believe even you. How many years ago? You are always the one who trusts you the most. When I was young, there were many pursuers. But it's Len who her parents feel safe with. They've always believed that simple men, not as flashy as the main forest, they will never fall. Her parents also advised her to choose him instead of Tuan, a dashing person. Career is also better. It is said that there are many temptations. I can't help but remember those things. Even after marriage, I always treated her very well. Confusion in words and gestures. They overcome many difficulties together. Building a career and family. You've never had any doubt about me. Always trust absolutely. But now, yesterday's image made that belief falter. When Ingok-san returned home, Lin was waiting in the living room. I just saw my wife walk in and she's smiling. Come to embrace her. Your voice is exhilarating. You're home. Where are you going today? Did you find the register with the marriage certificate? The jade stopped the feeling of choking in her throat. She looked at me wondering how many questions. I wanted to ask you where you were yesterday. His mother is Why did you betray me? You want to scream. I want to ask for clarity. I want to fight. To release the anger that's in my heart. But Ingok-san tried to stay calm instead. She swallowed down a lump in her throat. She said casually, I can't find it. Maybe I forgot where. I just finished listening to the change in the face. His eyes flashed with worry. His hand tightened and Ingok-san's voice was more hurried. I have to find it right away. It can't be lost. We have to go through it soon. Or you can't keep anything. Ingok-san looked straight into your eyes. Eyes probing. It makes your heart even more suspicious. I feel every word you say. Just to cover up something you don't know. She took a deep breath and asked a question as if testing his heart. If you get divorced, you keep the house, right? The main forest is confused. She agreed without hesitation. Your voice becomes restless. Well, not really. The lawyer calculated that it would be divided equally. Ingok-san clearly sees the stutter in your words. His eyes dodged, dare not look straight at her. Now everything seems to be clear. He's trying to hide something. And it's definitely not a fake divorce. You and your lawyer are probably thinking about letting her go. White hands Ingok-san stood still. His eyes looked coldly at the man in front of him. Someone you used to trust and love. Now suddenly become a stranger. The words you say. Your worried gestures now. They're just fragments of lies. But instead of direct confrontation, you choose to remain silent. This is not the time to explode. 2 years ago, he often uses excuses to go to work, continuously absent from home. At first, Ingok-san had no doubt about you. He's the man you trusted for 15 years. Always be kind and honest. But lately, warning whispers from friends, colleagues start coming to her ears. They told you to be careful, that it is unwise that Lam is kuklading. Even so, Ingok-san still deceives those words. Because you always believe. My husband would never do anything wrong to his wife. 15 married together through many ups and downs. Building a career from nothing. Ingok-san never thought. One day I have to face this feeling. When the doctor came up with the idea of a fake divorce, to preserve the property, she told herself to see how long you'd be cheating on me. Absolutely believe that. They will overcome all difficulties together. But after seeing the scene yesterday, your thoughts have completely changed. That night, when you and I finished dinner, Lam's phone rang. And break the silence in the kitchen. Ingok-san looked up at the screen and saw her husband's name appear. She sighed before picking up the phone. Hello, listen to me. Lam's voice boomed from the top of the Kia line. Still the familiar tone. But this time, the Jade sensed something different. San, I'm sorry. I have to go on a business trip today, so I won't be back in time. I'm worried about Cho Min-an. Don't wait for your rice. Ingok-san took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Going on business again? You've been walking a lot lately. What's so urgent? I didn't say anything. Lam hesitated a little and laughed awkwardly. This time the company has some problems. I don't want to rush it. But I know how to do it. The cat tries to keep its voice normal. But my heart was filled with doubt. You deliberately ask more. So when are you coming back? Or just a few days like last time? He was quick to respond. I'm not sure, but I'll try to get back as soon as I can. You and I just rest. Don't worry. Ingok-sa finished listening in a heavy heart. She hung up without saying another word. This time I'm not going to sit still. You know that these business trips, it's not as simple as Lam himself said. His previous absences from home. It's all dark, and you can't ignore it anymore. When Mingen went to bed, Ingok-san sat alone in the living room. She opened the phone to transfer money to hire Detective Theo. Watching my husband. The next morning, a message from the detective arrived. I didn't go on business as I said. I followed him. He just went to see a woman. If you want to see it for yourself, I'll arrange it for you. Ingok-san quickly replied that I agree. The next day, Ingok-san sat in the car, eyes still watching the main forest. His Audi slowly pulled up in front of the building across the street. Lam stepped out of the car, adjusted the jacket, and with a calm appearance, he walked towards the main door of the building opposite. In the building, he walked into the hall with confidence. You look around and there's no one paying attention to you. You push the elevator button. In my heart, a little impatient. But the face remained calm as always. The phone in the bag vibrates. You pull out. A message from the woman inside the apartment. You're coming. I look forward to your arrival. Both of you are waiting. Lipwise, I'm coming up here. The elevator stops on the 12th floor. He walked softly to the door of the apartment. Before knocking on the door, he paused to take a deep breath. The door opened, and the woman was waiting. Her eyes lit up the welcome. Your belly has grown, and you're about to give birth. The boy ran from inside the house and hugged Lam. I'm home. I'm really home. The boy shouted up his radiant face. Lam herself gave a wry smile, but still bent over and hugged the boy. I try to be natural, even though my heart is heavy by responsibilities and contradictions, increasingly piled up. I'm busy, but now I'm back. He patted the boy on the shoulder, while the woman standing next to, eyes full of joy. She invited Lam into the house in a soft voice. Come on in, I've cooked you some food. While the boy sat at the dinner table, the woman gently asked, Have you said anything to your wife? He was embarrassed and sat down to sigh. Not yet, can't say. Ingok-san is not easy to accept this. Everything must be slow or it will fall apart. The woman put her hand on her stomach and looked anxiously. How slow are you going to be born? I can't hide forever. I don't want to live in a stealthy scene like this. The master did not respond, just sat quietly. I know you're right. But also understand that if everything is revealed, the consequences will be incalculable. Work, family, property, it can all be lost. Lam has pushed himself into a dead end. And now I have no easy way out. In a small room, the air becomes heavier. The boy still innocently sat down to eat. I don't know about the worries of adults, even if you try to keep your appearance calm. But inside I'm confused. Behind you is a life that has been more than 15, with Ingok-san and her daughter. In front of you is another family waiting for you to be responsible. Outside, Ingok-san sitting in the car. The phone keeps ringing, with a series of messages from the detective, images that capture the moment. The main forest inside the apartment. Clarify your truth. Suspected for a long time. The phone rang again, this time a call from Kai. San, I think you should know. The woman in the photo have lived here for a while. And the boy Kier is the son of Lam. He went to a nearby elementary school. It's the school where you see them standing in front of the gate. Your husband comes here often. He seems to be pregnant with his second child. Ingok-san choked. Her hand tightened the phone, but she's still trying to pull the next picture. And then, the moment that makes you feel the whole world fall apart. Under my feet. Show out. A pregnant young woman standing next to her husband. Round face, with lines that are not so prominent, but the eyes are gentle and unassuming. That kind of meekness, that rustic look is identical with the main forest. That's her husband's cousin. What the hell is going on? He is the cousin of the chief. Is a young woman about 30 years old, with a small figure and an easy-to-see face. Ingok-san met her a few years ago, when she came from her hometown to Hanoi looking for a job. At that time, Ingok-san's husband helped collect Hugh. Stable life. Even ask someone to give you an accounting job. Through time, she has settled down in Hanoi, and often back and forth with Ingok-san's family. You always seem grateful and friendly, and Ingok-san is beloved as a brother. A few years later, he told Ingok-san that she met an old school friend and is getting married. Ingok-san is happy for her. Thanks to the main. Send a thick envelope to congratulate. But the strange thing is, after the wedding, he did not return to his hometown but remained in Hanoi. But now it's all falling apart. I know that Ingok-san is not just a cousin. It's also the woman. The Lord has hidden you for so long. I bought 2 apartments in the same building. A Cho Ingok-san and a daughter Cho Thursyu. All the help, the kindness that Ingok-san has for collecting Hugh. It's just a joke now. Because you recognize yourself. They were taken advantage of by both the police and the police. The little signs that Ingok-san used to ignore has now become evidence of blatant betrayal. Now when it all comes crashing down, Ingok-san can't help but blame himself. You trusted the man too much. That's what you call a husband. And the distant cousin you treat like your own, while Ingok-jiang still cannot be restored. After discovering Winter Sky with Hugh Fall, your phone. Suddenly, a message from the private detective you hired. The message is just a short question. Do you want to investigate your identity and this woman's background? There is no room for hesitation in the heart of San Francisco. She felt her hands shake as she called out the answer. Let me know about her. The response from Kai came very quickly, and after a long negotiation, they agreed on the lowest possible price. Ingok-san no longer wants to spend any more money into this couple of whores. But you know you can't let this go. It's not just about self-esteem. It's also a responsibility to your daughter. The truth needs to be clarified, and Jiang is determined to do that. Ingok Jiang is standing in the kitchen preparing dinner. Hands fluttered, but the mind was restless. This afternoon, her mother-in-law Han suddenly called to announce that she would come from her hometown to visit you. Normally, she rarely goes to Hanoi. This time suddenly appeared. It makes Jeanne feel that something is wrong. The doorbell rang, and Ingok-san hurried to open it. Ms. Han stood at the door handbag under a bag of countryside. The face looks tense. She walked into the house and asked right away, "Lam is not going to work anymore." Ingok-san nodded. "Please sit down in the living room and relax. He's been busy lately, Mom. I'll make you some tea. I'm going to drink tea and cook rice." "Cook, Mom. Sit down for a while." Mrs. Han sat down. The eyes couldn't hide the worry. When the meal is ready, the whole family eats. Mrs. Han began to inquire, "So how's Lam's job these days?" "He's on business all the time." The house must have been a lot of trouble. Ingok-san replied with a calm voice, "He's very busy, Mom. Go all day. At home, I try to arrange everything." Ms. Han continued to say, "I have heard that Hugh has been working in Hanoi recently. I remember helping him a lot. People in the family together. If they don't cover each other, they cover each other." Ingok-san saw in. "My heart throbs when I hear about the book." After what she found out about the shady relationship between the main forest and the Hugh. Every time I mention her, Ingok-san can't be as calm as before. She looked at her mother-in-law and said, "The devil is just your cousin. It's not my brother who can take care of it forever. She also has a career, Mom." Mrs. Han stopped. His face slightly sharpened and then reacted sharply. "What do you mean by that? He's his cousin. I'm the sister who acts narrowly. Or you say he's from the countryside. If you can help, you can help." She tried to remain calm but asked more. "You're not narrow. She's just old. Take care of your own life. You can rely on your cousins forever. She's smarter than I thought." I can't finish the sentence yet. Mrs. Han immediately banged her chopsticks down on the table in an angry voice. "I get it. You don't want to help. I know right away. That disdainful voice of yours. Just tell me why. Then I'll go home right away. I don't dare bother you anymore." Ingok-san was surprised by the strong reaction of her mother. Tried to hold her back. "Mom, I didn't mean it was just me. It's not too difficult to see her. But you're always so heavy." But Ms. Han stood up, her eyes flushed with anger. "No, I don't need to hear it. When I come to visit you, if you say so, I will go home. Not to bother my house." She quickly grabbed her bag and walked out the door. Don't let San-san have time to say anything else. Ingok-san feels lost. It's happening so fast and so confusing. After she left the house, Ingok-san packed the rice plate, but still restless in his heart. "You can't understand. Why did my mother-in-law react so strongly? Just because of a few simple questions about collecting. When Ingok-san is cleaning, I found out my mother forgot a bag. She opened the door to bring her. But when I got out in the hallway, you can hear her talking on the phone. Her voice was small but clear. Yeah, I'm done. I'm going to the Hugh Collection House." I told him I was going home. The jade sniffs quietly. She didn't go home as she said. It's going straight to Thursday Hugh's apartment. Turns out your mother-in-law knows of Hugh and Lam Main. You're such an idiot. Outside, Ms. Han went down to the apartment building, tense facial expressions. She dialed the phone and texted Cho Lam, "I'm going to the library, don't worry. I'll take care of her." But it seems that San Yu knows something. Meanwhile, Lam is sitting in the office. "I received my mother's message, but it was too late." You message back, "Don't worry, Eungok-san is very busy. She doesn't care. I'm worried about helping you, but you haven't to come back yet." I put the phone down. I looked out the window a little nervous. The more you think, the more angry you are. The previous events, she gradually reconnected. You realize, this isn't just an affair. It's a well-orchestrated plan. Eungok-san was deceived and turned into a fool. In my own marriage, the company that Eungok-san and Lam built together, from two white hands, it's the fruit of a long journey. The initial amount obtained, Eungok-san's parents sold 2 houses to support her. In the early years, Eungok-san directly runs the company, plays an important role in generating, develop and maintain a strong team of 5 veteran employees. But since she stepped back to give birth, focus on the family, the Lord takes over everything. Eungok-san sits in his small office, in front of the computer screen, with the information just looked up from the company's internal system. You can't believe your eyes. 2 important positions, finance director and human resources director, has been replaced by forestry that you're completely unaware of. You feel your heart sinking. Hold the mouse tightly without doing anything else. After a moment of shock, Eungok-san decided to call immediately for 2 used to hold this position. She started with the former CFO Hiro, the person you trust the most in Team 5. "Hiro, I'm Eungok-san. How have you been lately? Try to keep your voice calm." The hero was surprised to hear her voice. "San hasn't seen you in so long. I'm fine with a new job. Why did you call me today? What happened?" Eungok-san bit her lip and decided to get straight to the point. "I just checked the information in the company and discovered out that you're no longer the CFO. Since when did this happen?" The car was silent for a few seconds before the hero sighed. "It happened 2 years ago, stranger. Lam said that you have some flaws at work. I decided to give you a break. I'm sad too, but I didn't know what to say." She was quiet, but tried to stay calm. "Why didn't you tell me this?" "Actually, I think you know, but I don't want to talk about it. I thought you saved my face. I didn't dare to ask much either. At that time, I had just opened a store. I don't want to bother you." Eungok-san felt a rage rise in her heart. But you know you can't blame the hero. She took a deep breath and continued asking, "What about Ms. Lan, HR director? I see she no longer works at the company. Do you know what's going on?" The hero sighed again. "I was fired at the same time, for the same reason. She's a little sad too, but she doesn't say much. Lan kept in touch with me. But you don't seem to talk much to the company." Eungok-san, be quiet. I felt cheated for a long time, without even knowing. "Thank you, hero." Then quickly call her Lan. Lan picked up her voice, as happy as ever. "It's been a long time since I heard you call. Eungok-san is not circling anymore. I want to ask you about leaving the company. How did that happen?" Lan hesitated and sighed. "You gave me a job 2 years ago. I told you there were some mistakes. I don't think much either, because there's actually some problems. But I didn't expect him. I decided to fire you so quickly. Why didn't you tell me?" Jill asked, trying to stay calm. "Actually, I think you know." Then I went home to look after her. No more mention of the company, so I don't want to make it hard for you." Lan sighed in a hesitant voice. The silent hunting Jade, feeling blindfolded for so long without even knowing it. Close colleagues, People who have been with you since the beginning, he left in silence. That you don't know. The Lord has quietly arranged everything. And she didn't realize she'd been tricked. Get out of the company you built. After hanging up, Ingok-san sat down from Ra. The eyes are empty. The suspicions have now been confirmed. He's not only a traitor in love, but he's quietly changing everything in the company, maybe to prepare for a bigger plan that you don't know. Ingok-san sitting in the living room. My mind is spinning with a series of thoughts. The pieces of betrayal are slowly reconnecting. And suddenly, a faint memory flashed through her mind. Call back before. That you thought was a scam call. You just heard it and didn't care. But now with all that's happened, you know you can't ignore any more signs. Ingok-san reopened the call log. A long bell rings. Your hands tremble when you press the number. Before a professional female voice answered. Hello, this is a BC investment company. What can we do for you? Ingok-san tried to stay calm. Hello, I'm Ingok-san. I got a call from this number a few months ago, related to my company. I'd like to confirm the contents of that call. The guy over there was a little surprised, but quickly looked up the information. Yes, that's right. We have contacted you to talk about your company's new investment project. But in the process of verification, we discovered there are some unusual share transfer transactions within the last 6 months. We need to confirm with you the co-owner. Ingok-san startled. It feels like something is choking your heart. She choked her voice. Share transfer transaction, you mean Sao? The voice over there became more cautious. Yes, according to our records. A large part of her stake in the company, it was given to a man named Thursday Hui. This is a large transaction and we need to verify it. Do you know and agree with this? Ingok-san is a silent substance. Her name echoed in her head like a thunder. She tried to suppress the emotion, her voice trembled. I didn't know about this. Can you give me more information about this transaction? The woman over there seemed a little surprised. I'm sorry, but this is a legal transaction, approved within the last 6 months. If you agree, I suggest you contact a lawyer to deal with it. Jiang thanked her in a choking voice and hung up the phone. You sit quietly for a while. Try to digest the information you just received. I'm playing a very dangerous game. He didn't just lie to you about his feelings, but silently depriving her of everything she deserved. Your faith in him is now in ashes. You feel deeply betrayed. And the pain isn't just emotional, it's about everything that you've devoted to this life. Ingok-san walked into the cafe, mood full of anxiety and stress. She plans to meet a partner to talk about the next steps. But when you get there, the person waiting for you is a familiar partner. In front of you is a handsome man in a CEO suit, tall people, bright face and familiar smile. She closed her eyes wide in surprise. The sage can't believe his eyes. Tuan stood up, smiling with calm looks and warm eyes. Long time no see, sit down. Shyness came to sit down in the chair. I didn't expect to see you again, someone you used to be very close to. Throughout the college years, before her family introduced her to the mainland, they've come very close together. There's only one step left to become a couple. But then fate brought her to the main forest. Tuan went to study abroad. More than 15 have passed. Now you're in a difficult situation. You appear suddenly again. He pulled the chair for you, then gently called for coffee. You often drink. You don't look directly into the eyes of the jade. You are in trouble. It has nothing to do with the Lord. Your question confused you. Ingok-san tried to hide what happened. I don't want to reveal too much about my personal life, but Mr. Tuan's sincere eyes, with your calm that makes you feel safe. pressure from the treachery of Lam himself, with worries about the future. It's been weighing on you all these months. And now in front of you, you are not strong enough to hide. Ingok-san sighed. Look down at the coffee in front of you. Her voice trembled slightly. You're right, I'm in a lot of trouble. The Lord not only betrayed me in love, they cheated on me at work. He transferred all of my shares for someone else. I don't have anything for love or career. He sat quietly listening to every word she said. You're not Chun. Just gently put your hands on the table. It creates a sense of peace in the surrounding space. Ingok-san's emotions burst. She couldn't hold back anymore. The tears quietly fell. I did everything for him, because of this family. But in the end, he took it all away. I don't know what to do, she said in a hiccup. Tuan still looks calm. Give me the paper towel. You don't have to be strong all the time. Sometimes it's okay to let yourself be a little weak. But now, it's important that you stay calm and find a way to solve it. If you need help, I'm here. Ingok-san looked up, eyes full of appreciation and confusion. You don't know how bad it was. I don't want to drag you into my problems. Tuan smiled softly and replied, We haven't seen each other more than 15. But that doesn't mean I can't help you. I know you are strong and independent. Sometimes we need someone to share and help us. I'm not here for you to rely on. But let me know that. Someone who believes in you and is always ready to support you. Ingok-san looked at Tuan. Your heart is light. Part of your appearance right now. Like a ray of light in the middle of time, the darkest of your life. Ingok-san sat still, tears rolling down her cheeks. You're not an easy person. Share your feelings with others. But now, everything. You seem to have exceeded your limit. In front of you, you know very well. No more empty words of comfort. I quietly handed her a paper towel, eyes full of distance. Tuan spoke in a firm voice. Let's work together. You need your stake back and I need the project. The offer made Ingok-san stop. You suddenly look at me, but immediately recognize the logic in words. Mr. Tuan caught the problem quickly. No need to explain much. I understood your situation very well. Ingok-san wiped her tears, trying to keep her voice calm. What do you want from me, a company project? Mr. Tuan nodded, his eyes full of determination. That's right. I know your company has a big real estate project. Is being prepared to deploy. I want to be involved in that project as an investment partner. In return, I'll support you in taking back the stake from Lam. I need to be clearer about how you're going to help me. The forest is in control, and he doesn't make it that easy. Tuan smiled. He leaned forward in a quiet voice. I have good relationships with many of my industry partners, both investment and legal. The most important, you have people who can put pressure on you to force him to face the stock issue. Your job is to prepare all the evidence about the illegal transfer of Lam Chin. We're going to use that to turn the game around. But Lam is very careful. He calculated very carefully. I'm afraid it won't be easy. Mr. Tuan did not flinch. I looked straight into your eyes. I know, but we have an advantage. If I can get legal support and cooperation from you, we can completely turn the tide. You're not alone, San. This is the time to stand up. Fight for yourself and your daughter. She nodded in agreement with a more determined look. I agree with you. I'll do anything to get back what's mine. Please help me. Tuan smiled softly. As a deal was reached, you put out your hand. We fight together. After together with, Tuan agreed on the plan, creating a business crisis to weaken Lam's company. Ingok Jiang received the investigation results from Kai Detective. The truth makes you even more confused. He is not the cousin of the Lord. It's actually two people. They had a secret wedding in their hometown before. When Ngok San and Lam got married, the only thing they haven't done is an official marriage registration. In the eyes of the main family, she is his real wife. I went to the city to find the main forest before. It's not because of the brotherly relationship, as Ngok San once thought. It's to force him to marry her. According to Thursday High's thoughts, it was Ngok San who broke her happiness. He was the third person to enter their lives. But the truth is quite the opposite. Ngok San is the one who has his eyes covered. The wife is recognized and protected by law. That year, he did not tell the truth to the Ngok San. Instead of that, she continued to interfere in the marriage between Ngok San and Lam Main, step into their lives as a cute cousin, but actually collect. She was quietly pursuing a clear goal, asserting his wife's position. This further proves that they have been planning for a long time, and her morality matters. When it's all clear, Ngok San decided he couldn't sit still anymore. Every plan and move of the main forest and collect you. Now it's in front of you. It's time for you to stand up. Take back what belongs to you. Ngok San is sitting in the cafe with her eyes towards the door, full of determination. This is not a meeting to plead or plead. You have come to face the enemy, to tell her that all the lies have been exposed. A few minutes later, I walked in. Looks weak and lobed. But Ngok San knows. Inside this woman full of soul. He sat down and laughed softly and opened his mouth. I'm going to see you. Something important has happened. Ngok San does not want around you. Look straight into your eyes and speak frankly. I knew it all. You're not Lin's cousin. He and I were married in secret. It was before me and my wife were married. I didn't come here to fight or pray, but to ask you to withdraw from this marriage. I can still hear the sound of calm. She smirked, not surprised, on the contrary. She seems to have been waiting for this moment for a long time. Her voice was soft but challenging. You already know everything. Well, at least you understand the situation. You know what? My son and I are 7 years old. I'm pregnant with it. Before you stepped into his life, the Lord has never really loved you. He's just taking advantage of your family to build a career. Ngok San sat quietly listening to every word. Like every sow that pierces your heart. The false calmness of Thursday Hui. It only makes you more angry. Yao San stared at her. Hold your anger in your heart and calmly respond. You might think you've won. I didn't come here to pray or to be manipulated by you. The main forest Kanchuzi I is no longer important to me. I just want to get back what belongs to me and my daughter and you. If you want to live with the lie, go ahead. He raised his eyebrows but kept his cool. Take a sip of coffee before continuing. You're so confident. But the truth is that the forest has been mine for a long time. You're just the one who comes after. A woman whose name is not real. I think I can change something. Ngok San smiled slightly. Maybe you're right. I've been blind all these years, but now I see it all, and you should remember. In this game, I'm the one with the right, deciding about your future. You can keep the man, but I'll get back what's mine. And he smiled and said, let's see who wins this. In a discreet apartment, he walked into the house with a tired face. As soon as you take off your jacket, I hear footsteps coming from the bedroom. And then there were angry eyes. How long are you going to keep this up? The cat tried to stay calm. What else is that? I told you, now is not the right time. It's not the right time. She laughed contemptuously. You think I'll wait forever? You're going to keep me in the dark, to ever be. Lam Main silent, 2 hands clasped. I know that the dog is excited, but I can't let it go too far. You have to understand that. I can't let this get out. A scandal like this, it will ruin your career. You've spent your whole life building a reputation. You can't let one mistake ruin it all. She moved to a challenging eye. You're talking about reputation. When I've had enough. You promised me, and I've been waiting for you all these years. Do you know how much shame have I had to live in? Now I want you to keep your promise. Marry me or I'll go public myself. Lin looked straight at her. The voice became cold. You're playing with fire, hum. You don't understand. If you do that, we'll both lose everything. Your career will collapse, and I got nothing out of this mess. Don't let anger ruin everything. He kept his eyes on fire, but even though he was angry, she knows Lin is right. A scandal like this would destroy everything that they both tried to build. She breathed hard and walked away, but no more words. The air in the room is tense to choking. In-gok-san sitting in the living room. The phone kept ringing. She picked up the detective's voice. Sister San, I have news. Tonight, the mayor had a huge fight. In-gok-san silently looked out the window. You know what you're dealing with. It will create waves, but did not expect that. The situation is moving so fast. That night, In-gok-san was thinking, the higher the pressure, the chief will resist even more. She knows one thing, next to the main forest, there's never been a shortage of beautiful young girls. Those women. It would be easy to replace that in his heart, if she keeps making things more complicated. The interest he has for collecting may be not as deep as she thought. The only thing, it can be used to bind the main forest. It's the sun. The family values their son very much. And the son that Hugh gave birth to, it's the trump card. That's the only weakness she has left. It is also the reason that we haven't been completely abandoned. But now In-gok-san understands, the next thing you need to do, that's stealing the trump card. They have no weapons left. To control the main forest, this is the last move in your plan. If you can, that leaves no reason to hold back. She lose everything she's ever held on to. And he has you. You will get back everything you deserve. Not just property, it's also that freedom and self-respect have been undermined. All the time. In-gok-san and Tuan continue to keep in close contact. It's not just Zalo and the phone, that's almost 2 to 3 days. They met again to discuss the revision of the plan. Thanks for studying together and work in the same field. The two of them worked very well together. From investigating the company's financial situation, he's working on a new project. It all happens smoothly thanks to her position as Mrs. In-gok-san is easily accessible, with many important internal documents. Without any doubt, In-gok's plan. San is deployed very quickly and accurately. After just a few weeks, Lam's company Maine. We're starting to get into a big capital chain crisis. This kept him busy from morning to night, trying to manage all sorts of things so that the company doesn't collapse. He had to light the cask for the drinks, take care of everything to keep the company alive, while the forest chief is busy with Dark Face and Dark Nose. In a more efficient way, In-gok-san uses his free time again. She continued for a few days to collect Hugh at the right time her child is out of school. Every time you arrive, your goal is clear. Pissed her off. In-gok-san wants to force Hugh. Must be voluntary. He withdrew from his marriage to the Prime Minister. From the beginning, she did not hesitate to offer, "How much money do you want to leave my life?" And Lin said, "The number I will consider, San. It's not as simple as you think. We can find a peaceful solution." In-gok-san didn't show any patience, she just laughed. "Have you thought carefully? The money is still on the table. As long as you accept and retreat, it's easier. This time it seems more annoying, but still trying to keep a calm appearance. Sister San, I have no intention of leaving. I've been with you since before you showed up. I'm not easily bribed. Ingok San gave a cold smile, looking down from top to bottom, but also not in a hurry. You know, your goal is progressing as planned. The third time she came and walked in the door, Ingok San attacked directly. You haven't decided yet. You should understand that. Money is the fastest way to be free. Don't think that 15 lives in the dark with Lam. It's something to be proud of. What have you lost? And I'll lose more if I keep clinging to him. This time, the courtesy and hospitality of Thursday, who we completely disappeared. She can no longer suppress her bitterness and resentment. Her eyes glowed with anger. His voice interrupted with anger. You think my 15 youth? You can use money to buy vegetables. The forest is mine, and I sacrificed everything for him. You're the one who's finished. Ingok San did not expect that. I can't wait to utter such bitter words, but quickly responded in a cold voice. You think I'd be willing to give it all to you? Why are you wrong? I'm not here to negotiate. I have come to reclaim what is mine. You've taken enough. I can't control my emotions. Ingok San came closer with cold eyes. In the moment, she raised her hands and forcefully slapped Hugh Tarp. In the morning, the slap echoed in the quiet room. Makes Thursday Huey's smooth white skin glow. Immediately, he stood up and hugged his cheek. His eyes filled with anger, but Ingok San just looked at her casually and full of pride. As a predetermined winner, that's just the beginning of the fall. You'll still have to pay for everything you've done. Ingok San did not wait for Thursday Hugh's reaction. She turned and walked away, leaving her standing there bitter and resentful. Can't put it into words. That evening at the apartment of Lam Main and Thursday Hugh, the atmosphere was tense like a bomb waiting to explode. He sat in a chair with eyes full of anger. How long are you going to keep this up? You promised to solve it. She divorced Ingok San and married me. Why haven't you done it yet? Lam herself sighed with dark eyes due to lack of sleep. Work is choking him, and now it's putting even more pressure. Oh my God, now is not the time. I don't see the company in trouble. If it all comes out at this point, you've not only lost your reputation, you've lost your company. I have to wait. You think I can wait forever? I've been waiting for 15. Do you understand? I sacrificed everything to be with you. You told me to wait. Don't forget that most of your property is in my name. He gritted his teeth trying to stay calm. I know, but if you let this out now, we'll both lose everything. You have to be careful. Be careful. I've waited softly for you enough. I won't hold back anymore. You've got to make a decision. You have to take it out now. The student stood up and his eyes looked exhausted. I don't want to solve this quickly. But the company is collapsing. If we can't solve it, the business crisis before, then everything will be lost. Do you understand? When the company is stable, everything will be easier. She couldn't help herself anymore. She came over and screamed. You always say how long to wait. I've had enough. Or you marry me right away, or I'll say it all myself. Lin himself looked straight up at her, a deep voice full of warning. You're putting yourself both in danger. Don't force me to do something that neither of us wanted. The air in the room became heavy. They're both standing opposite each other in extreme tension. Ingok San in front of the mirror, retouching the hair and the simple but delicate dress. Take a deep breath. You know that the cat is on its way home, and he's sure to get drunk. She's got a business crisis on his shoulders, and pressure from work and relationship with Hugh Revenue. It makes him seem exhausted. This is the perfect time. Let her do her strategy. The flickering of the key that opened the door echoed through the night. Lam staggers into the house. his face wrinkled with fatigue and his drunkenness still unresolved. "See the San?" He sighed. "It doesn't seem as cold as before. I haven't slept yet." Lin himself spoke in a tired voice. Ngok-san keeps her gentle face close. He gently took his jacket. "I drank a little too much. Let me help you into the room you need to rest." Lam sat down on the chair. Eyes lethargic, follow her. "Every time I get drunk at home, usually let me take care of myself. But today, the gentle care of Ngok-san. I'm a little surprised. Ngok-san, you've been strange lately," I asked in a surprised voice. Ngok-san smiled and put a glass of warm water in his hand. "I see Minin has grown up. I think my husband should have another baby. Do you agree? Silently look at you. Outside everything is collapsing work. Relationship with the collector Hugh. It all makes me want to choke. But in this moment, care from Jade-san. Give me a sense of comfort that I didn't realize was ever lost." She hugged her soul wife to her death. Then carry Ngok-san to the bedroom. They make passionate love. This helps the mood of the main body. Release some of it. The days after that, Ngok-san continues to maintain his strategy. You take care of yourself more carefully. From the meal until the gentle conversations about life. It also suggests that you two spend more time together. She suppresses the feeling of disgust in her heart. Whenever I have to be close to him, patiently play the role of gentle and caring wife, until one day when I notice the mood of the main are collapsing about work, you start asking about the company. In times of sadness and lack of vigilance, Lam himself did not hesitate. Tell me about the difficulties he's facing. From canceled contracts, the investors withdrew, until the company's finances were on the verge of collapse. Ngok-san listened to express interest in suggestions. If the company is in such trouble, let me go back to the company for you. Even though we built it together, I want to get through this time with you. The main forest is confused. His eyes flashed across the face of Ngok-san, then quickly turned to worry. He can't let you go back to the company, where all the secrecy about the transfer of shares happened. You can't, son. I promised you before. I live happily without worrying about anything. Now I can let you go back to the company. It's hard. You're not a 7-year-old. Lin's gentle voice echoed. In a quiet space, he hugged her in his lap and gently stroked her hair. But in the heart of San, these words, it's no different than sweet lies. You can see the fear in the eyes of the Lord, a fear of being exposed. These passionate gestures now only make her shiver. How can he hide his betrayal under the guise of such deep conjugal affection? Even though my heart is full of discomfort, Ngok-san continues to play the supporting wife. Encourage him. I know you did everything for me and you, but if you need anything, I'm here to help. Maybe because I was touched by your interest. She is slowly treating her daughter better. The evenings after work, he used to sit at the table with Menan. I'm learning. Those moments create an image of a happy and harmonious family, but Ngok-san knows that everything is only appearance. You and the main, they're calculating their own things. In this marriage. One afternoon, when the phone rang again, it was Mr. Ngok-san picked up his voice to be careful. I just investigated more. It seems Lam is speeding up the sale of Thursday Hugh Apartments. He seems to be preparing for the next step. Tom was silent for a moment, trying to stay calm. Are you sure about that? Is it true that the devil wants to end up with the devil? Or just was to try to hide her for fear that everything would come out? Tuan took a deep breath, his voice dropped. Both are possible, but based on what you know, he's dealing with too much pressure. The company is in crisis. Collecting them causes more trouble. Maybe he thinks that Going further away will solve the problem. But if he hasn't decided yet, this is your chance. Ingok-san sighed in his heart full of insecurity. You know that the Lord never makes a decision without careful calculation. But he's trying to sell Thursday Hugh's apartment. Prove one thing. The relationship between them is not the same as before. I'm worried that if you take her away, everything will get out of control. I need to get it right. What he's planning? Tuan nodded. Even though he is on the other end of the line, I will continue to follow. But San, I'm about to act fast. Now is the time to decide. That afternoon, Ingok-san sits opposite Tuan in the cafe. The surrounding space is deposition. His eyes suddenly stopped at the red mark on her neck. Your expression has changed dramatically. The dark eyes carried a puzzling look. You two have reconciled. Ingok-san unconsciously put her hands on her neck, full of confusion. A moment of prolonged silence. You don't know how to answer. Just bow your head away from your eyes. Tuan laughed softly, a fleeting half-mouthed smile full of self-parody. I thought after going through this, at least I'll grow up a little bit. A little more political. What you say, like a dagger in Ingok-san's mind. It makes you remember the past. That day when she stood at the crossroads of marriage. Every decision seems to be made by the parents. It is their choice, and you, with immature thinking, just listen to it without thinking. He tried to warn her at the time. I told you, it's about choice in love and marriage. But you're not listening. I think the most important thing a marriage needs is stability. And the person you choose is a good person. He looked at her with stern eyes but no words. You don't have to say Ray. Just with that look, Jill knew she was losing herself. To continue living with the main forest, even though he betrayed, maybe in your eyes is weakness. Accept an assignment. Suddenly, Ingok-san feels the guilt rising in her heart. Facing Mr. Tuan, you feel like you're doing something wrong. The shadow of Lam and Tuan in her heart seems to have swapped without her knowing. I can feel the 7 stars in your eyes. Even though I try to stay calm, you should think more about yourself and your daughter. Jade-san took a deep breath and hurriedly replied, I will divorce you from the main body. Just not now. When you say be careful, look at every little expression on your face. I noticed your eyebrows widening. Ingok-san felt more relieved. Maybe you've lost some hope. He looked at her for a moment and said, the number of shares in the name of Hugh will be difficult to reclaim, but you can quietly transfer the cash. After divorce and division of property, you can force the government to go bankrupt. Important thing, you need to be careful and leave no trace. You should think seriously about this plan. You're right, this may be the only way, but you have to be careful. Tuan smiled softly. I need calm and patience. But don't worry, I'll be here for you. You don't have to face it all yourself. She looked at him with eyes full of appreciation and determination. I'll do it as planned and I won't let you down. Mr. Tuan, 2 days later. Ingok-san dating. I thought I was a cowboy in a coffee shop. She had prepared many words to explain. But before you can speak, Ingok-hung spoke first. You don't have to say anything far away. I know you're having a hard time. Don't worry, I'll help. Ingok-jiang was surprised to see his brother. I can't believe you can guess everything. That you never told. She asked me if I knew everything. Ingok-hung nodded, keeping his eyes calm. I don't know the details. But since I asked about moving house, I can guess. I don't want to force you to say Ray. I'll tell you when I'm ready. Ingok-san felt his anxiety gradually dissipate. She looked down inside. I don't know how to say it, Ren. Ingok-hung held her hand in a deep voice. It's not cool. The important thing is that you and I will be fine. I'll help you move and take care of everything." Ngok-san nodded, feeling more relieved. You know, you didn't have to face it all alone. Her brother was quietly helping without you having to ask for many words. That night after dinner, the mayor received a call from the mayor. He glanced at the clock and knew it was time to go. Give a reason for an unexpected business trip. The owner quickly packed up and left the house. But as always, I don't ask any more questions. Just smiled politely and told him to drive carefully. In fact, Len did not go to work. He drove straight to the hospital, where Hugh was in labor pain. When he walked into the waiting room, your face is tense, but filled with joy and excitement. Outside the delivery room, he kept walking back and forth. Double hand gripped the phone. Sometimes, looking back at the delivery room door. After a few hours, finally the delivery room door opened. The nurse came out with a smile on her face. "Congratulations. British mom round boy square is a cutie boy." The Lord cannot hide the joy. His face was radiant. I walked quickly into the room where she was lying in bed, tired but happy. In your arms. The child lies with his eyes half closed and his skin pink and white. He walked softly to his moving eyes. "It's hard, thank you." She laughed weakly and whispered softly, "Look at the boy who looks like you." The mother looked down at the child's face. Your eyes sparkled with pride. "He doesn't wait any longer. Pick up the phone and call your mother." "I have good news, Mom. I just gave birth to a son. Both of your mothers are fine." On the other end of the line, Mrs. Hand's voice cracked for joy. "Oh my God, my grandson. So my family has one more descendant. I'm so glad." Lin laughed, his voice excitedly. "Yes, Mom, my son is cute. I like it as soon as I see you." She couldn't hide the excitement. "Remember to tell your father the news, the boy's grandparents. I'm sure it'll be fun to hear this." The master sat down next to him. The eyes did not leave the baby. He spoke softly into the phone. "Don't worry, I'll let everyone know. But first, I want to spend some time with my mother." Hugh was. "And then I'll talk about registering his family." "That's right, register now. You've got to officially put me in your family tree. Let me take care of the rest." Lin himself hung up the phone. His face was still filled with joy. But somewhere in his heart, there's still a sense of insecurity. The secrets, the lies between you and the still hanging around waiting to be discovered. He looked down and tried to hide his worry. "Everything will be fine, Jude. We will take good care of you from now on. I'll take care of everything." Thursu nodded. "My eyes are a little tired. But to believe in the words of the Lord, in this moment, they only think about the future, with the newly born son, without knowing that life ahead will not be as easy as they think." Ngok-san stands outside the hospital hallway. Look through the glass door and see what's inside. Lam is sitting next to you. Patiently coaxed her to drink water. She looked tired after a day and night of giving birth. But the arrogance on her face didn't diminish. Hugh's gaze flashed through the glass door. I was surprised to see Ngok-san. But then she quickly calmed down. His gaze turned to provocation and triumph. Ngok-san pushed the door in. A faint smile on my lips. He turned around and caught his wife's eyes. His face immediately turned pale, and he stood up. The 8 guards in the hand suddenly out of the hand, fall to the ground and fall apart. The sound echoed through the sand. "Why are you here?" The clumsy Lin is clearly trying to think of a way to justify. Ngok-san walked to calmly answer. "Cousin gave birth. I didn't tell you." Her voice is soft, but there's irony that can't be hidden. Ngok-san put a gift box on the nightstand as if you were just a normal visitor. He looked anxiously at his wife, his eyes full of confusion. "Take a look at the scene in front of you." Smiling his lips, his voice full of irony. I didn't think you'd have the heart to visit like this. You really know how to endure. Ngok-san did not return to answer. To the baby's cradle. She picked up the child and looked at him with affection, and then looked straight at Lin's own cold voice. Please explain. The room sank in silence. I try to find words. I've faced 2 women before. He became confused. This time he turned his eyes to him, waiting for an answer. Lam remained stuttering. San, it's not what you think. Ngok-san laughed and interrupted. It's not what you think. Let's see. It's not the first time I've seen a dog lately. Hearing that, Lam was startled. Mouth doesn't know what to say. Jill began to tell everything. From the first time I found out he was picking me up, until the times we meet. But she tried to subtly embellish some of the details. It makes the story more dramatic. After telling it, Ngok-san pretended he couldn't take it anymore. Asked in a painful way, Baby, my husband is planning to have more children. You didn't change your mind, or you're going to leave us. Lam is very confused. Hurriedly stood up to pull the Tae Ngok-san. San, I'm sorry, but it's not what you think. I'll never leave you and your daughter. His voice dropped, but he heard her scream immediately. You said that. Why didn't you leave her? Are you going to leave me and you? Lin himself frowned to look at Hugh. Why do you say that? She's still your wife. This word, like a fire that burns the mind of Therdihua. She jumped out of bed. Without hesitation, shut down the main forest face. She screamed, her face red with anger. You're an asshole. I gave birth to 2 sons. How much suffering. And yet, you still want to hook up with your wife. Behind me. Ngok-san stood still, watching the confrontation between the two. You know, no matter how deep your heart is, she couldn't keep her cool either. In this situation, Ngok-san laughed, big smile, ironic. There's Hugh. You're ridiculous, cousin. There is a small 3. Forbid other men as husbands from having sex with their wives. Postpartum women are often very sensitive and emotional. Tell this to Ra. People spit in your face. They are angry and trembling because thinking about you carrying heavy labor pains. But Lin himself went home for sex with his wife behind her back. She's too delusional about power. You think she loves you and you can't stop it. When she had 2 sons in her hands. For the Wulin family. The room became extremely tense. Lam mainstream stem. I don't know what to say to comfort both women. Ngok-san remained calm. Gently patting his shoulder, signaled silence. She walked to the bedside. He bent down and sat down. It's cold on the ground. If you don't want to get sick, go to bed. Don't be so emotional. Ngok-san's interested voice. It made Lin's eyes change. He looked at his wife with disgust. After collecting Hugh mad, but can't say a word. Ngok-san did not let her react. No matter how many years you've been cheating on me, but the child is not guilty. My marriage is not guilty. I don't want to make a big deal, but everything has to be solved. She looked straight into his eyes and continued. The child is a child of the Vu family. They will be sent back to their parents. I'll give you a lot of money. Let her start a new life. You can start a company or whatever. But the condition is that you leave my husband. He laughed in an ironic voice. You think I'm just a birth machine. Why I won't leave so easily. Ngok-san raised his eyebrows. She thought he was going to divorce and marry her. A man who's been with you for 15 years. He never officially married her. You think he did it because he really loved you? Ngok-san's words like a knife pierced the heart of Hugh. She glared at Lam full of resentment. He only married you because you had money. Now the company's shares are in my hands. The one who has to go is you. Panicked Lam stepped forward to muzzle Hugh. But not in time. Ingok-san looked at him with hope. I'm going to go to the company to check. If that's what she said, we will meet in court. Ingok-san did not say another word. She turned and left the room. She rushed after him and grabbed her arm. His voice filled with panic. Jude looked at him with cold eyes. You didn't say anything, you just waited. I know I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it up to you. Ingok-san remained silent. Your eyes don't move. As if compelled by that silence, the police began to confess. His voice was awkward and hurried. I bought a villa in a neighboring city. Just like, I want to take the whole family there. If business 7 fails, Thursday Hugh's apartment he wants to sell to be definitive with her. Everything. Just because I'm trying to keep something for you and me. I don't want to lose everything. Ingok-san frowned, but didn't say a word to let him go on. She went home and told her family everything. Now your relatives know you have 2 children of your own. Parents want to adopt a nephew, but afraid to face the public. They dare not go public. Now the whole family is pushing you to end with the Hugh collection. To protect the family's reputation. The family just wants the child back. Ingok-san slightly smirked her lips, a smile without emotion. She looked straight into Lin's eyes. Grandparents like nephews so. But how do you give it to them? I hesitated trying to tell you. I've secretly registered a household name for my son. I am old but with a small child. I thought I could talk to you. Put it in your family's register. I just want to keep a whole family. Ingok-san gently shook her head, the sarcastic smile still on her lips. The whole family. What are you talking about? A family with our daughter's brothers. And his 2 own children. I really think that. Everything you do is for your family. I feel my face burning hot. He bowed his head to face his wife's gaze. Ingok-san sighed. Your voice is full of 7 hopes. I'm not just cruel to you, but even with her husband, who gave birth to 2 children, I'm also ready to leave. Everything to me is just calculation, benefits and reputation. I really think that I can save everything by making up lies. The forest is confused. It's not what you think. I was wrong, but I tried to make it right. Ingok-san won't let you talk anymore, she interrupted. I think that, to cut off from the Hugh collection, will solve everything later. I forgot that. It was you who started all this Ren mess. I thought I could make it up to you by selling her apartment. They left their mother with a bank card and continue to live as if nothing had happened. The police have no words to justify. He knows Ingok-san is no longer a weak woman, that he used to think of you. The main forest hesitated. I'm drunk, but I don't want to lose you. Ingok-san laughed softly. I'm just afraid of losing my property. I never think about other people's feelings. I want you to keep quiet, to protect your reputation and your family's. Is it true that Lin is clinging to the hand of Ingok-san? I'm sorry. Forgive me just this once. The Jade of Tears. Okay, I'll give you a chance for me, but I want you to prove it by your actions, instead of words. Even if you feel disgusted, Jill still pretends to be touched. In front of his regret, she tried to shed a few tears to make the story more compelling. And it's amazing. The Lord has full confidence in your compassion. After signing the transfer papers, stock, he looked up at the jade sand with hopeful eyes. In his head, everything went according to plan. And I'm sure my wife will agree to come back to me. Let's revive the company together. But when Ingok-san took out another file, he's a little confused. What else do you have? She asked in a voice that could not hide her worry. Ingok-san didn't say anything, just slowly opened the file and turned the pages. I can see the familiar words, the same images captured, the evidence of his adultery. In that moment, his face changed. The air in the room stopped. "What are you going to do?" Lam's voice trembled with stuttering. Ngok-san looked at him with calm eyes, as if everything had been in your plan for a long time. "I really think it will be easier for me to believe your regrets later. Here's proof of that. I betrayed you and had a son with you. Throughout the years, this evidence, enough to file for divorce and make you lose everything." Lam was stunned. His pale face, he hurried forward. "My eyes are filled with panic. San, what are you doing? We could go back to the way we were before. You transferred the shares. I listened to your every request. I can't do this." Ngok-san calmly shook his head. "Can't Sao. I think after all that I've done, I will again blindly stand by you, Sao. I gave you a chance, but you destroyed it yourself a long time ago." Lin himself stepped back. His eyes are as dead as a soul. After a moment of silence, he stared at the mountain. His voice stiffened with anger. "I held the baby to get a DNA sample for a blood test." "Right," Ngok-san nodded without hesitation. "That's right. I never let myself get into situations without any evidence. You think I'll let it go?" Without later verification, Lin himself stood dead, his hands trembling. "Why do I have to do this? We used to have happy families." Ngok-san sighed, no longer angry. "Only the cold remains." "That's right. We used to be happy, but you ruined it. And now I'm just asking for what's mine. All the evidence that you've submitted to the court." Quickly, the court makes a ruling. Then finally, he reluctantly bowed his head, signed the divorce papers that Ngok-san gave. In your heart, you know that you have won, but it doesn't feel good. It's just the end of a long day. Tears and betrayal. I walked out of the room with a sigh of relief. It's finally over. Ngok-san walked out of court holding the divorce papers tightly, but her footsteps were lighter than ever. This long and painful battle is finally over, and you're the one in control. Before that, when Ngok-san and Lam stood opposite each other in court, she was embarrassed after signing the divorce papers. I turned to San, eyes full of anger and 7 hopes. "You stole my money. It's called breaking up in peace." Lam's voice is full of sarcasm. Ngok-san calmly shrugged. "At least I left you a way to live. But have you ever thought about to leave a way of life for my mother?" Ngok-san's last words. It's like a knife straight into the forest. He bowed his head in silence with nothing to justify. All excuses are now meaningless. After a few minutes of silence, he sighed. "I was wrong, but you were cruel." Ngok-san stood up and looked him straight in the eye. "Am I cruel, or have you been cruel to me before? Life is a game of chess, and I lost." When Ngok-san walked out of court, she saw him waiting at the last door. "After so many years with you, Jing-san can also give you a worthy answer." Ngok-san holding the divorce papers in hand, smiling. "Keep me waiting." Mr. Tuan stepped into his arms and hugged her shoulder, gently said, 15 is not too long." At that moment, he stepped behind them. His eyes immediately caught the sight. His face was dark, but he didn't say a word. He saved the last bit of face for himself, then turn around and quietly leave. Ngok-san's parents. When I heard that she was divorced from her husband, they didn't ask much either. With the help of my brother, Jewel-san has arranged everything. From the transfer to the daughter, the whole family moved to another city to start living again. After a year of learning and being with him, Ngok-san decided to take him to the family debut. Not long after, she entered her second marriage. Her daughter and Tuan quickly got along. But her husband and her husband have their own children. You and your husband agree not to tell your daughter because you don't want your daughter to get hurt. And he had a bad feeling about his father. You say you and your husband are no longer on the same page. She understands very well and never ask about problems between adults. Every month, Ingok San still takes her daughter to visit her father and grandparents. The holidays, although there is a lot of resentment among adults, but Ingok San understands that nothing can stop the love between children and the next of kin. Not long after marrying Mr. Ingok San pregnant and gave birth to a cute boy. Her new life is filled with joy and happiness. You didn't stop her from playing with them, with the love of a kind man and a peaceful, cohesive family, even if the family remarries. But Ingok San feels the harmony, the joy of a small family. Meanwhile, after the divorce, Ingok San left Cholam a sum of money, enough to start over, but he didn't go back to business. I'm an office worker at a small company, sometimes small investments. After Ingok San gave birth, and finally, she's married to Thursday Hui. According to her ex-husband's mother, their lives are not happy. There are frequent arguments. They have big ambitions, desire for a life of wealth and power. But even though Ingok San left Cholam a sum of money, but the scandal of a broken marriage was widespread. The betrayal of the chief, and how he calculated with Ingok San. My wife built a career with me. From the number 0 was in the business world. The main forest is no longer able to meet that. No one wants to work with you anymore. Even though I became an office worker, he's still hard to use, and the path to advancement is almost blocked. Forever. Time goes by. A day ago, when Ingok San's daughter is about to go to study abroad, she suddenly confided to her mother that many people underestimate his dignity. Mom, I've known for a long time. My aunt lives right in my apartment. And I also know you've got 2 sons. The words made the Ingok San stunned. Because over the years, you always think, I protected her from all this. You didn't expect that. My daughter has known it all for a long time. She smiled and hugged Ingok San tightly. Mom, thank you for always protecting me. And thank you for treating me like a daughter. Listen to the words. The jade can't hold back the tears. In every broken marriage, the people who are hurt the most are always the children. Even though I did my best to protect you, but you know in her heart for sure, there are still wounds that can't be erased. You can't help thinking about your 2 sons, of the main forest and collect Hugh, the innocent children, to grow up under the watchful gaze and the talk of society. Although the jade is a little guilty, but if she's chosen again, she'd take revenge, not only for the betrayal of the Lord, but also with yourself, because of your daughter, and all that Lin himself has done. Sometimes life requires us to stand up, reclaiming justice, even though it can be deeply traumatic. Dear friends, the short story is over. It's a great story, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? If you think it's good, like and share support for Quine Wong. Hello, and see you and friends again. After the new series, it will be broadcast on the channel. Hello, and see you later. Remember to subscribe to the channel.